Hello guys from Plant Reviews. Today the fortnightly tour of my fragrant plants in June, and it will be a pretty short video because I think I will make some video on the different species and varieties I have. However, I want to give also a nice overview about what today on the 12th of June is blooming fragrant wise in my garden. I will start with my beautiful pineapple broom. As you can see, it has wonderful clusters of yellow flowered racemes of pineapple scented flowers. The racemes are quite big. They're about as big as my hands, so about, I would say, 10 centimeters, 12 centimeters in length. This is quite spent now, but as you can see, I have lots of other flowers that are in full bloom, as well as some still to open. So I'm very happy of the blooming of this plant this year. It's really completely covered in flowers with a wonderful pineapple fragrance. About the jasmine, unfortunately, the jasmine flowers have faded for most part. However, I have a few flowers left of this species jasmine. That is the pink jasmine, the Jasminum polyanthum. Definitely I think is my most fragrant jasmine in the garden, and I'm sorry that the blooming is almost finished. Fragrant wise, I realized that the first bud of my Buddleia butterfly buzz is open. This plant produces beautiful racemes of deep purple. My variety is very intense purple blooms, and the fragrance really can fill the garden. Today is obviously is still early June, so it's still early for this plant to be in full bloom. However, I'm glad that I have the first flower opening. This is a plant I love, both for the fragrance and because also butterflies love it. So it really fills your garden with color and fragrance, not only for the plant but also for the beautiful insects, and is loved also by other pollinators as well. Continuing with my most fragrant plant tour. I have two recent purchases I bought yesterday in Madrona nursery. This is the Philadelphus Leimoine, that is a hybrid between Philadelphus microphyllus and Philadelphus coronarius. Is supposed to be the most fragrant Philadelphus. I found it has a beautiful fragrance, citrusy and sweet, more sweet than the honeysuckle, and less citrusy, but still has a wonderful fragrance. I found this one very fragrant, but not particularly more fragrant than other varieties I have, like the Belle Étoile or the Microphyllus or the Starbright. However, I decided to buy it anyway because the fragrance is slightly different from the others. And I bought also another Philadelphus yesterday. That is the Philadelphus Mexican Jewel. The Mexican Jewel produces flowers that are smaller than most of the other varieties of Philadelphus. The color is also different, vaguely resembles the Belle Étoile with this deep purple center, but the leaves are absolutely different. You can see this is the Lemoine that has very bright green leaves, while the Mexican Jewel has very short, like grayish green leaves, and the flowers. Well, before speaking about the flowers, let's talk about the habit of the plant. The plant doesn't really grow erect. It has a terrible spreading habit, I would say. So what I would do in my garden, I will just try to tie to some other plants and climbers in order to give it a more tidier appearance. However, the fragrance is absolutely amazing and way different from all the other Philadelphias I have. This one is a fragrance that really is like a candy, like when the same fragrance when you smell when you enter in a candy shop, and it is very peculiar. It reminds me strangely of the night phlox as a fragrance. but obviously it produces many more flowers once it is established, and it is a very strong fragrance. Definitely a pretty unusual plant if you like unusual fragrances in the fragrant garden. Continuing with the fragrant plant, I have still the Microphyllus in bloom, even if the blooms have almost faded, as well as the Starbright that have almost faded. So other two beautifully fragrant mocha oranges, Philadelphus, and yesterday I bought another rose that has a wonderful fruity scent. This is the rose Madame Isaac Pereire. Sorry, I tried to show you. Yeah, that's the name, Madame Isaac Pereire, and it is a wonderful fruity scent, very strong, as I like. Continuing the video, I obviously can't forget the beautiful honeysuckle, Japanese honeysuckle, Lonicera halliana, with its profusion of white and yellow flowers. The flowers open white, and when they age become yellow. The fragrance is wonderful, really citrusy and sweet at the same time, but is a size fragrance that I think is fresher than the Philadelphus. The Philadelphus is more on the sweet side, and I have some flowers also of the red word honeysuckle. That is also a fragrant honeysuckle, even if at the moment it's not in full bloom, so the fragrance is not really strong as the Halliana at the moment. Even if the flowers are, I think they are more showy, because I love the beautiful red color when they are in bud, and they keep it, as you can see, when they are in bloom. Continuing my fragrant plant video, I still have a few flowers of the beautiful chocolate scented Lilium primulum, the coral lily or red Turk's cap lily. It is a wonderful orange red lily with the chocolate scent. I don't have any other lily that has a chocolate scent. The plant is about 1 meter tall, and it is a wonderful addition to your garden. It's not very long lived, but they produce usually lots of seeds, so you can grow them from seeds and increase your stock. Continuing my fragrant plant video, I have here the lupin, the tree lupin. My young plant is about 1 year old. Doesn't produce many flowers this year because it's still a young plant, and they're still in a small pot anyway. I'm glad that it is producing some seeds, and I'm looking forward to harvest them. And the fragrance is very peculiar. It's very like freshly made washing, like clothes freshly washed. It's very fresh. It's not sweet at all. It's absolutely fresh. It's one of my favorite fragrances in the garden, and it's also I would say it's a mild strength, because I probably don't have a big plant with many flowers, but definitely you can smell it if you are about 50 centimeters, 1 meter far from the plant. Then I have a beautiful, very fragrant plant that unfortunately didn't bloom much this year because it's been completely taken over by the Stauntonia coriacea and by the Japanese honeysuckle, and that's the Trachelospermum, star of Tuscany, that in my opinion is the best fragrant Trachelospermum, the false jasmine, the Trachelospermum germinoides. This one is like creamy yellow flowers, unlike the most common Trachelospermum germinoides. There is fully white flowers, and the fragrance in the Trachelospermum germinoides is very sweet. In this one is more citrusy, and I usually prefer citrusy fragrances over sweet fragrances. So definitely I prefer, this is the variety I prefer on the Trachelospermum. I have still my Podophyllum spottidotti in flower, even if the flowers have almost faded. is still absolutely fragrant plant. It smells kind of strange with like a resin or incense notes, but also kind of acrid. It's not like really rotten meat, but definitely is a fragrance that some people might not like. I kind of like it because it's something like I don't have in the garden. It's the only plant smelling like this, so it is a plant that I still like for the fragrance, even if I have to say I definitely prefer citrusy fragrances. This one is still such a strange fragrance that I'm glad I have this plant in my garden. And then I will finish with two plants. This is a Jasminum officinale. This plant is fragrant, but nowhere close in strength of fragrance to the Jasminum polyanthum. This plant also is more fragrant in the evening at night than during the day. The fragrance is fresher than the polyanthum. The polyanthum is sweet. This one is a little bit more citrusy, however is not even comparable as strength, so really I can't recommend this one, at least not just yet, if you like perfumes really that can spread around the garden. It is a nice flower with bright red buds, and that open up in white starry flowers. However, I didn't find it as fragrant as my polyanthum, but I have to say the polyanthum is they have three plants that are much bigger, so this might be the reason, because it is not very fragrant. I will keep updated next year. At the moment I can't really recommend the officinale as one of the most fragrant flowers. But I just realized I forgot about one flower that is extremely fragrant, and the fragrance spreads around in the evening and is still in bloom. My green cestrum, the Cestrum parkii. Cestrum parkii is a relative of the tomato and the potato in the family Solanaceae, and has beautiful clusters of green, bright green, I would say almost lime green flowers that during the day smell like just washed potato, but during the night they had a very fresh fragrance that is very difficult to describe because it's one of the unique fragrances I have in the garden. I can't really compare to anything else. I would say it's like it has some notes of mint and licorice, but also like candy. It's a very strange sweet, but definitely very pleasant. It's one of my favorite fragrant plants in the garden in the evening, indeed. And I will finish my tour with a plant that I just bought yesterday, a gardenia. I had two gardenia last year, one double flowered and one single flowered. Unfortunately, one died and the other one doesn't look too good, maybe because in this spot it has too much shade, even if still managed to produce a few buds. So I decided to buy this one because I found a very nice plant yesterday, very fragrant as well, and that's the Climbs Hardy. They're supposed to be, it is frost hardy, supposed to be frost hardy. Last year we didn't have any frost, luckily, and one of the two gardenias survived, so maybe the one that I just showed you was another Climbs Hardy. However, this gardenia is a pretty big plant. You can see how many blooms it has, and this is a gardenia just below us, and the fragrance is absolutely wonderful, very citrusy with some sweet notes. I can't really smell meters far from the plant. However, when you put the nose close to the flower, it's the most amazing fragrance you can, one of the most amazing fragrances you can smell. Definitely one of my top choices in my garden. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like to support the channel, it would be great if you can please subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye guys.